aka Butterfly Karen. Welcome. So welcome to today's, well, this is one of my first author reading. I just want to part of this video I will do just little snippets of readings from my book, which I'm going to be starting with, The Healassist versus the Naccissist. So again, these are available in paperback for you beautiful souls. You can either get them directly from me at my website, or you can get them from Amazon, depending on which area you're in. So, but they'll be signed by me. So, and I have plenty of copies in right now, so they can go out immediately. Otherwise, you just have to sort of wait up until like 2 weeks. But the information is on my website. Now, the Healassist versus the Naccissist. Part of this video, there will be a longer explanation where I really sort of go into the details of the Healassist versus the Naccissist. But it's literally, it's pretty much how it sounds. It's a journey of self-responsibility, awareness and healing, and it is part of a workshop process. So there'll be different volumes coming in the future. This is to help you heal. Now, part of being a Healassist, and I won't go into too much detail because I do sort of explain it more in the video, that is part of this video. So, to understand social conditioning, familial, cultural conditioning, you have to understand part of that is part of the programming. So, a lot of people, unless you're kind of ready to hear about this and understand it, it's really just going to go over your head. But unfortunately, what that's done over the past 50 to 60 years is created narcissistic traits within society. So when you're kind of at my age or older, you will notice, like maybe 30 years ago, society wasn't as messed up as it is, unfortunately. Behavioural patterns were not like they were before. We've got a lot more sociopaths and psychopaths, unfortunately, in society now than ever before. This is part of the mind controlling programming. So what that kind of does to the majority is it creates narcissistic traits. Now obviously narcissism, that's a condition, so that needs to be addressed if you do suffer from that. There's so many areas of that, but I'm just focusing basically the healing side of psychology behind just the narcissistic traits, which is we all develop them at some point. It's part of getting through the social conditioning, unfortunately, part of finding out who we are, who we're supposed to be, part of the programming, unfortunately. When we turn on our devices and we're watching TVs and we're watching shows and we're watching Hollywood, etc., the entertainment industry, the music industry, is part of the programming system. That is what is creating narcissistic traits in us, because we're programmed to believe being completely outrageous is a normal human behavior. No, it's not. Infidelity, being sexualizing everything that's wrong with society is part of the programming. Now, what we have to understand is to remove away that shame immediately, is to understand it is not our fault. It's part of the system the architects of the system that have created this sort of programming to control the minds and to keep them in distracted states of consciousness, distracted states of fear. It's all part of it. So in order for our brains and our minds to understand what's really going on, we naturally just start naturally adopting, because we're trying to find ourselves as well. Then obviously there's deeper, darker levels, because when you've been traumatized, or you've been raised, through, when you're raised by sort of narcissistic family members too, that's part of your conditioning. So you're either going to grow up to be one or the other. You're going to become a narcissist like them, or you're just going to adopt a few of the traits, put them out while you're still trying to figure yourself out, and then you will naturally just heal. Like one day you'll look back and go, I don't like the version I am. I don't like who I've become. I don't like who I am. I don't like who I was raised into. And that's kind of part of the normal the home fronts these days, unfortunately, the family units. That's how it is, because again, when you're looking at the parents over the last 30 years, they've been programmed too, so they naturally just think it's normal to be like this, so they naturally educate that into the children, into the familial conditioning, which is education starts at home, unfortunately. So they've managed to find a way to program the people's minds into the family units to get them, the children programmed before they even go to elementary or nursery or anything like that. So before they go into the indoctrination system. I have my own thoughts about this, but I remember part of these narcissistic traits is through the program, and the program is through beliefs, and the beliefs are manufactured through paradigms. So I do kind of explain a lot about the paradigms too, especially in Palantis Planet Volume 2, which I will be doing the reading on that. I will be discussing the paradigms, because it's all to do with just paradigm shifts. So once we understand this, and when we understand the system, we understand what's wrong with society and why we're all like the way we are, we know we take sort of self-responsibility. Like, you know, I'm not paying into this anymore. I'm not buying into this system. I'm not living this way. This is not. I don't like who I am. I wouldn't tolerate this. If somebody with these traits was treating me this way, I would not accept it. So that's when you start sort of asking those questions and understanding that, you start changing. So you start moving away from, you start understanding the paradigms a little bit more, then you understand the different belief systems and why so many beliefs are so programmable that everybody needs to believe in something, when we can have multiple beliefs if we want to, but depending on who you're following, who is becoming your mentors, who is on the entertainment stages, who you're worshipping. Nobody should ever be worshipping another human being anyway, ever. I don't care who they are. I don't care how successful they are. I don't care how famous they are. No human being should ever be worshipping another human being except for yourself. That's it. Because you can't evolve and change and heal and ascend and grow and then expect other people to, if you're worshipping other people. It just doesn't work. You had to worship you. You have to be the example. So this is why I created the Healassist versus the Naccissist. So it's about healing, getting away from the sort of traits, as narcissistic traits, and then learning to, just again, don't live in shame, but remove yourself from the taking responsibility for your own actions. It's just by admitting and accepting, I was like that. I am not that same person. I am not the same person I was a year ago, let alone 10, 15, 20 years ago. That means you're healing and growing. So now when you move into the Healassist side of it, you are literally rejecting all of the narcissistic traits that are programmed into us in society. And from people, our friend groups and everything, you'd be amazed at how many these sort of in-groups and friend groups are full of narcissists, or a lot of them have got narcissistic traits, but they all feed off each other. They're all feeding each other's. They don't think there's anything wrong, but it's very fun. It's dysfunctional. It's not healthy behavior at all. So that's why the society is in such a mess. So when you start becoming a bit of a healassist, you start changing new first. You start naturally just sort of growing. You're emanating a completely different energy, and then you're really sort of tapping into the light, shadow. Part of having narcissistic traits is understanding that they're part of your shadow aspects of yourself. We've got both. You cannot function without the light and dark in you. It's not possible. You just got to find a way to blend both. You can just naturally flow with both, as and when you need to. That is what becoming a Healassist is. So when you understand, you have to function off your dark aspects too. That's part of the ego that helps you, that keeps you alive, basically. That's part of your strong intuition. Now there's obviously the difference between ego and an unhealthy ego and the healthy ego. There is a difference, but when you become a Healassist, you kind of move away from the arrogance side of what, those traits where there's no shame in this, there's no judgmental, there's no, there's no finger pointing or anything. Because there's not a human being on this planet right now that will not have or hasn't had narcissistic traits. It's part of the programming. It's part of, we didn't know. Until you know, you're not going to know. But now you know. Because for me, I'm just bringing the awareness to the table so that you understand. Like, there's just little things that you might think, I really don't really like that about myself. Why am I like that? Why would I say that? Why would I do that? Then you start looking around who's around you. And you'll notice the pattern is right there. Well, I'm kind of like my friends. I'm kind of like my partner. My partner speaks to me in that derogative way, regardless of the sex, it does not matter. So if you feel like, I really don't like that, I can't, and you're not allowing it. You're telling yourself, this, you can't have this. But then you recognize that you do that too once in a while. That is because who you've been influenced by. Whoever you are around is influencing your traits. You can't truly find out who you are. You can't find out yourself. You can't find who you are, or can't find out how to be yourself until you move away from the people around you, unfortunately. So, and the other part of being a healassist is, by growing and healing, you have to move away from everybody just for a time. Not forever, just for a time, because you can't learn about who you are when you're surrounded by other people that are they're giving out expectations of what they expect from you. No. This is the part of the Healassist journey, is to one, learn about who you are, love you, again, worship you, love your temple and everything, love your energy, your soul. You got to nourish your soul, heal what's broken you, heal what's hurt you, because heal and help, hurt people, and that's so. Until that mindset changes, nothing's really going to change. But you can change you. When you make the change, that becomes contagious. When people say, oh, I remember when she used to be like that. Right? Okay, and get over it. I'm not the same person, and I'm just using me as an example, because I was like that. I had my traits back in the day. And then when you understand them, you learn to manage them, because that ego, like that unhealthy, arrogant ego, likes to kick in once in a while, and you've got to sort of recognize them immediately. Like, oh, hello there. I need to humble myself immediately, just to remove those traits that are trying to creep back in, because it's still part of the programming. It's everything we watch, we're listening to, that's around us, are absorbing. We don't always understand. We are absorbing far too much. And as technology advances, so does the programming, so does the absorption. And you don't always, you don't realize it's happening until you're like, ooh, I don't like that, I don't like. But that's great, because you recognize it. So now you know what you don't like, you change it. When you change it, you're changing your energy, you're shifting your energy. When you shift your energy, you start becoming a different version of yourself, a much healthier, much loving, kinder version, a much understanding and healing kind of person. So now you're naturally healing others just by being the example. So you'll start noticing people like, I remember when you were like this. You're just not the same anymore. You've changed. Yeah, I've grown and I've healed, and now I'm a Healassist. You got to own that title. When you heal yourself, and you're never fully healed. It's a life cycle. You'll go through the whole life healing something, because there's not a human being on this planet that does not get traumatized, unfortunately. That is part of the programming, and it should never be like this, but it's been like that for a very long time. We can make the shift. We can change. Once we heal ourselves, we become a Healassist, and then we're causing that shift, that energetic shift that people need to understand. Look, we're all broken. We've all been broken, but we can all fix ourselves too. We can all heal. But we have to grow and we have to heal. We have to stop the patterns of behavior that we are responsible. Like, you see, I don't believe in types, I believe in patterns. So it's like, I used to have a type. No, I don't have a type. I never had a type. I had a pattern. And unfortunately, the pattern was also me, because that's what I was attracting. As I changed and I grew and I got a lot more self-worth and self-love, putting that into me, really just, again, part of the worship in you is to feed yourself self-love and self-worth, and know who you are, have a relationship with who you are, be your own best friend. That's hard to compete with for anybody, but if people that truly want to be in your life, and they want to be part of, your growth, and they want to love you, they will have to compete with you and yourself, and you and your best friend, which is you. That you can rely on you, but they will meet you there. They will work hard. Those that really just want to take and don't care about you, want to drag you back down, like, oh, you're just different. Oh my God, you're just not the same anymore. Oh my God, you're just so boring. Tot off then. Go away. Go back to you're a low vibrational person. That's the problem. They're still in that low vibrational energy. They don't have to be, they're choosing to be. But they want you back at that same level. When you start healing, you become a very high vibrational frequency. You're emanating a completely different frequency. You're emanating off a completely different frequency too. So that's part of the Healassist journey. So it's about being honest with yourself. And when you can be completely and truly honest with yourself, you can start being honest with everybody else and to the world, and putting that honesty back into the world. But then you're changing. There's no life sentence for, you know, people don't have a right to say, well, you used to be like that. Okay, well, really, you're still bringing my past up. That you didn't even really know that person back then. You just thought you did, right? That person was just emanating the energies around me. Didn't really know who I was, but this is who I am. I don't care about who I was back in the day. I've changed, I've healed, I've grown, I've ascended. You're still clearly trapped there. So stop focusing on the woman or the man I used to be. You either want to focus now and learn about who I am and accept me for now. And if you can't, tot off. You don't have to stay. I'm not forcing you to stay here. Go away. Because if you continue to stick around those people, unfortunately, they will lower your vibrational frequency and they'll drag you back down. And you will just go back into your patterns and, you know, function off those little paradigms, unfortunately. So it's just kind of understanding and the awareness of that. Now, again, always just be honest with yourself. But I do kind of go into more detail as you go through the video. So before I start the reading of areas I want to focus on, because I'm going to be discussing the arch method. I created an arch method. It's part of the self-healing process of how to do it, basically, and how to heal your wounds, etc., but become the Healassist. And it's a journey. And I do like and the beautiful thing about my workshop is, my little workshop books, is I leave readers healing notes, so you can keep keep it as a journal. I created this so you can use this as a journal of your own sort of like healing growth. And you know, there's plenty of sort of pages at the back that I leave for, so you can keep a journal of your development, the little changes you're noticing about yourself and things like that. But when I start a reading, I'm going to be starting with the dedication page, because for me the dedication is everything. It's about recognizing people who created, who I'm on my journey, but it's about people who were the reason I am who I am, or became who I am, my lessons learned. I don't look when I look at the past, and I look at the past people I was with for years and years, or spent years with, whether that's friendships or relationships, I never look at it as like, oh my God, I wasted so much time. No, that was my education. So I never look at the past and go, God, I can't believe I wasted so much time on you. I used to back in the day when I was a bit low vibrational. I blame like, why did I waste so many years? But as I grew, I'm like, actually, I didn't waste anything. That was perfect education. I've had 2 marriages that were 19 years of 2 educations over a 19-year period. So I don't look at them negatively anymore. I look at them and I think, well, what did I learn? What did I learn about me? I learned a blooming lot, but I learned about these things that I won't tolerate in anybody else in the future. But part of the healing now, even just if we're just discussing relationships, is now I understand and recognize those patterns, and I've changed even my patterns and got rid of my insecurities, etc. I'm not going to take that into a new relationship. I'm going to go into a new relationship with a blank canvas, and I don't want to bring another person into my life unless they've done at least a little bit of healing. And I've also brought a blank canvas, so we could basically create a painting together. We can create something. So that's where I'm at in my journey. But it's a process, and everybody's journey is different, and everybody's healing time process is very different too. So it's not fast process. It's just, again, there'll be things that you get triggered about. Like sometimes when you hit part of the healing is like, just something I needed to react. Wow, I didn't react. Wow, I would have reacted. So, but the fact that you didn't is because you're healing, and you recognized that would make me angry. Now I've got no time for that, and you just learn to ignore it, and that is part of your healing growth, and that's amazing. So this is where you're emanating a completely different energy, and the fact that people can't trigger you and get you back, they're like, what's wrong? Oh my God, I can't get that person triggered again. I can't use the same emotional tactics and manipulation I used to. Oh my God, what's wrong? You're not the problem, they're the problem. The fact that they're still trying to question their self, like, how do I make this person get triggered and react to my manipulation, says everything about them. The fact that you control how you react says everything about you. So that's just something we can all do, that just in our everyday life. Like when you get a text message, okay, I'm not having a text fight today. Not today. not tomorrow either. So I would ignore it if it continues. I would give that person, okay, I'm not going to have a text fight with you. I'm not going to do this. If you're going to continue to insult me, blah, 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 and do this through text, I'm going to block you. Now you've got to start putting in healthy boundaries into place. Very important. When you start putting those healthy boundaries into place, that is you showing your self-worth, and you're telling other people what you're not going to accept, and you either respect me or you go away and you'll be removed. And that's their own fault, not yours, theirs. So you're not, and I don't, you know, you'll get the whole emotional blackmail, you get the whole emotional manipulation. You don't understand, I've been through this. Well, you know, we've all been through it. Nobody's trauma is any worse or any less than anybody else's. No one's pain is any worse or any less than anybody else's. We all feel pain, we all feel trauma. We've all dealt with it, we're going to. We just have to learn how to manage it ourselves and get the healing that we need. And if you do need therapy, I absolutely urge you to get the therapy that you need, whether you're grieving therapy, any issues that you got, even if it's mental health problems. Get the help you need, because there is help out there. Do your research on your therapist, obviously, and do your research on your psychiatrist and psychologist. But for the love of God, please get the help you need if you know you need it. Otherwise, you can self-heal too. This, you know, if you feel strong enough to just push through and learn. This is why I created Healassist, because all mine was self-healing. And it took years and years, and I'm at the beautiful point now where I'm just emanating a Healassist. I'm just a Healassist. I go into society as the Healassist. When I listen and I speak to people, I listen and I speak to people, and you know, vice versa. You've got to listen as well as speak, but you listen more and you talk less. Back in the day, you probably did the opposite, because you know, you're still trying to figure out things. You're trying to understand, and you're trying to help people, but you know, sometimes we realize just being the kindest counselor you can be is just sometimes listening, because that's all some people need, is just somebody is actually listening to them, not judging them, not telling them what to do. They're not looking for a therapist, they just need somebody to hear them most of the time. So that is why I created the Healassist versus the Naccissist, so it can help you. It's a guidance, it's a self-healing guidance. So I hope it really helps people. But again, there's nothing wrong with admitting we're not perfect. There's no such thing as a perfect human being. There never will be. We are a spirit living a human experience. We can't get it right. We're going to make mistakes. But once you make the mistakes and you own up to them, it's by, the old saying, the definition of an insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. That's not going to happen. You're never going to get a different result. You're going to get the same result, and you're going to create the same behavioral pattern. It's as simple as that. The only way you get a different result is to accept, okay, I've made a mistake. I recognize the mistake. Now I recognize that was me. That was a me problem, right? Now I've got to change that. And then when you change it, now you're going to get a different result. So that's just a little bit of, that's just how I feel about, that's just how I've learned. So, but we're going to make mistakes, and we're still going to hurt people unnecessarily, not because we're trying to or not because we want to. It's just that we're not, there's going to be people that want pieces of us, and we can't give them those pieces of us, and because we have to reject them, and they're going to take that personal, because again, they reject the fact that they're offended and upset by being rejected is an abandonment issue and a rejection issue they need to deal with. That is not your problem or your fault. It's just they're not ready to deal, they're clearly they're not healed from that. But you can find diplomatic kind ways of rejecting somebody. But if you've got someone's full on and they're just not taking no for an answer, it's like no, then that's up to them to feel whatever they need to feel. But hopefully during that feeling process that they're putting themselves through, because they've been rejected, or the friendship rejected, or the relationship rejected, hopefully they'll start working on that. But again, that's not your responsibility, nor is it your problem either. So you just need to put your healthy boundaries up. And if you had to, so yeah, we're going to still hurt people unnecessarily. It's not because we're intentionally doing it. Our intentions are correct. We need to reject this person or these people because I need to maintain my healthy boundaries. They're trying to come up past, they're trying to infringe and intrude on my boundaries. I can't have that. So the fastest way to stop that immediately is to reject that person or everyone. And if they don't leave you alone, you remove yourself from the equation. You might have to reject people that way by just turning your back on them and doing a lot of blocking. But they're not going to heal while you've still got those people trying to drag you back in and keep you in that low vibrational frequency, that behavior, the low level behavior, where you can't heal or grow or anything. So again, that's an independent, that's a personal choice that you need to make. So, but dedication. So I dedicate this book to myself, The Paradox. Ever loving, ever healing, ever evolving, and most importantly, ever divine. To everyone who has ever felt unseen, unheard, or manipulated, you are worthy of healing, clarity, and empowerment. Absolutely. So what we've got to understand is when you become a bit of a, we're all a paradox, but when you understand the true nature of paradox, is we can either be the healer or the destroyer. You can just choose and decide which you want to be. Now, for me, I'm not like that, and I'm not really like that. And I never really was like that. There's more to, if I had to be like that, it was because I was having to protect myself, to be that sort of extreme. But some people naturally just like, I'm going to destroy people's lives because I'm just hateful. I hate myself. I've got problems. I've got traumas. Oh my God, I'm unhealed. I hate everybody. So I'm going to destroy everybody because I'm insecure and jealous, and they've got problems. They are the narcissists, unfortunately. The fact that they think they're entitled and they have that right with zero responsibility to go out there and destroy other people, they are the narcissists. You need to stay away from them people, because they will literally drag out your narcissistic traits out of you, and you'll end up trauma bonding and everything, whether that's in friendships or relationships. So I recommend you remove them. If you can't get them away from you, try and find a way to remove yourself immediately, because they are quite dangerous as well. So just be very careful. Now, so in the book there is a personal note from the author, which is me. So I'm going to read you my note. So, I have spent decades studying the mind, emotional healing, and the dynamics of narcissism. Oh, sorry, let me start again. Dear beautiful souls. I have spent decades studying the mind, emotional healing, and the dynamics of narcissistic behaviour. This book is part of my own journey, a path I have walked through challenges, insights, and personal transformation. I am sharing it with you so that you do not have to walk alone. This book aims to help you understand, find your voice, and build your inner strength. Healing is not just about surviving, it's about thriving. It is about reclaiming your power, honouring your emotions, and stepping into the life you were meant to live. Through every trial I have faced, my resilience has remained unwavering, and I want you to know that this is a strength we can all achieve. Your resilience is already within you. It just needs to be nurtured and awakened. Throughout this book, you will find insights, tools, and exercises designed to help you recognize and navigate toxic relationships, establish and protect your boundaries, restore your inner peace and confidence, understand the paradox between the narcissist and the healassist. I'm a beautiful paradox and I own it. But I just function now of the healassist side of me. So I've controlled the narcissistic traits, like I am in control of them. This is a shared journey. My experiences, reflections, and lessons are offered here for your benefit. I hope that as you read these pages, you feel seen, heard, and supported. Every step you take toward healing is a testament to your courage, your resilience, and your worth. May this book serve as a compassionate guide, a practical resource, and a source of empowerment as you move forward. With love and dedication, me, Dr. Carol McKenzie. So, and then I want to read a message to the reader. If you are holding this book, chances are you've encountered someone whose behaviour left you questioning your own reality. Narcissistic dynamics can be confusing, painful, and deeply destabilizing. They often leave people feeling drained, uncertain, and disconnected from their own sense of truth. But this book is not about the narcissist, it is about you. It is about reclaiming your clarity, your strength, and your responsibility for your own healing. Throughout these pages, you will discover a path toward becoming what I call a healassist. A person who chooses awareness over reaction, healing over resentment, and growth over remaining trapped in the past. Healing does not mean forgetting what happened. Healing means understanding it, releasing its hold on you, and stepping forward with deeper wisdom and resilience. My hope is that these chapters guide you back to your own strength, the strength that was always there, even during the moments you may have doubted it. Your journey begins here. Now, so obviously there's, the introduction, but let me go. I want to just quickly go through the arch method in chapter 10. You can pronounce it arch, but I pronounce it the arch method. So, chapter 10. Yeah, it's again, if you follow the arch method, you will heal a little bit faster. You'll just have the understanding a little bit faster too. A little bit faster. So, there it is. Right. The solitary evolution. As I was discussing, you may have to be alone for a while. There's nothing wrong with being alone. Here's the problem with society and the programming. They make you feel like if you're alone, there's something wrong with you. If you're alone, you're a lone wolf. Oh, we have to watch out for you. If you're alone, you're antisocial. That's not true at all. That's programming. That's a ridiculous paradigm that was created to distort beliefs in this. So I want people to understand that being solitary, I thrive. When I'm alone, I thrive. I literally thrive at everything. I know how to be social. I know how to interact. I can be a social butterfly if I want to. But for me, I actually thrive when I'm alone. And I like to pull back. I like to restore my energy. I like to reclaim my energy. Energy is very important to everything. So part of that, and again, the solitary evolution of you is learning about who you are, remembering who you are. So that is when you start learning about who you truly are. That is who you become, and that is who you introduce back into the world after healing and getting away from even your own possible narcissistic traits. If you might have just a few, you might have one, you might have a lot, right? But it is important, but it's a journey that it must be walked alone. Nobody can walk this the solitary evolution for you. This part of the journey, the healing, nobody can walk that with you, not even a partner. And to be honest, what's probably put you in this energy and at the stage of your healing is probably the breakdown of a relationship anyway, and probably a partner that you either had to walk away from, or they walked away from you and rejected you. Now you need to use this time to not get into another relationship, but to start the solitary evolution, because you will heal faster from that relationship. But you'll also recognize the patterns of past relationships, whether it's with lovers, partners, or friendships too. So there is a structured method here, but I call it the arch method. So actually what I will do is the arch method. Ooh la la, let me find it. So I'm looking at my own chapters. It's weird to read your own book after you've edited it so much. So the arch method. To support this process, I developed a simple yet powerful framework called the arch method. The arch method is designed to help individuals interrupt harmful. Ooh la la. That's interesting. I keep getting my words mixed up. The arch method is designed to help individuals interrupt harmful behavioural patterns and begin the process of self-programming. You've got to reprogram yourself from the programming. You've got to reprogram. That's what part this is. So the ARCH method, it is awareness, release, control, and heal, and that is the ARCH method. So the awareness is understanding the conditioning and programming that shaped your behaviors and beliefs. The release is letting go of past pain, trauma, resentments, and emotional wounds through reflection, counseling, and healing practices. So again, even part of the release process, when you start getting into the release process, this is where you might need some external counseling or therapy or anything like that. And I urge you to do that if you feel like you need that external healing or therapy. When you get to the release, the release stage of the ARCH method, I urge you to get whatever help you need. There's so many resources out there. You can get self-help. There's so much material online as well. Again, do your research, but that is where I would recommend you start. But if you don't need the external help, then just continue, because you can, it's part of just sort of releasing and accepting. Okay, I was part of that problem, but I'm not going to hold myself responsible forever. I'm not going to be shamed by that. These are my lessons. It was my education. I've learned from that. So make some notes of where you may have been a bit insecure, a bit domineering. Be honest with yourself. You cannot be honest with anybody if you can't even be honest with yourself. I used to be a bit domineering. I was always reactive abuse. Ooh la la. It's part of the narcissistic manipulation trait, unfortunately. A narcissist will use that on you all the time to draw you back in, that reactive abuse, which is why, again, text messages is the fine example. Not today, not tomorrow either. I'm going to block that. I'm not taking your call. I'm not taking your text. I'm not going to be no, it's reactive abuse. They want you right back where they could control you. But even when you're in the midst of a relationship with a narcissist anyway, you've got to understand you're naturally going to be mirroring their behaviors anyway, because you're in that relationship. You're naturally your traits are going to be like popping out and everything. Like where you feel like, I don't like being controlling. I don't want to control my man. I don't want to control my woman. I don't like this. You can't help it because you're actually being controlled by a narcissist. So it's your defense mechanisms kicking in. Like I can't bow down. I've got to fight a little bit. So sometimes you'll do more verbal fighting. I've never done the physical fighting. I don't tolerate it. But my God, as my mouth, I will fight to the death with my mouth if I need to defend myself. Don't get me wrong, it's put me in some situations where I've had it shut for me, like physically. Because when you're dealing with a narcissist, they don't like what they're hearing. They don't want you. No, they want you submissive and everything. No, that's sadistic behaviour. You've got to get away from those people. But until we learn that, we're not going to know. We just think, oh my God, we're just arguing. No. No, there's a lot, it goes beyond that. So that's part of so when you understand that, you release that and you heal from it. It's part of, okay, I just can't. I will never again, once you understand that pattern, never again will you ever get into a relationship and tell a man or a woman, depending on what your preference is, what to do. You go, if they make you feel like you've got to be like that, that's a red flag. If they're making you feel jealous of other people by triggering your insecurities, that's a red flag. They should be making other people jealous. Let's just say, for example, I'm a woman, okay? I'm not a size 4 anymore, right? But I like who I am, I love who I am, and I love my energy, and I love my soul. It's as simple as that. I don't compete with anybody. I don't need to. I know who I am. And nobody can compete with me because there's only one of me. So some are going to look better, some are maybe not. Who cares? It's not about that. But in the eye of the beholder, like let's just say, for example, I get into a relationship with another man. If he starts making me feel jealous of his female friends and his ex-girlfriends or ex-wives and things like that, he's got to go. If he's got to make me feel jealous of women he's looking at on the internet, on our Instagram or anything like that, he's got to go immediately. He's a red flag. He's unhealed, and he's probably got narcissistic traits. So when you recognize that, a partner who truly loves you will never ever make you feel jealous of another woman. I'm just using me as an example. They will make those women jealous of you, and vice versa. Or maybe they will never make you feel like you need to compete with other women or other men. They will make, if they know their friends, whatever, are jealous of you, right? They're not going to care. I'm like, so what? You then be jealous of her. This is my woman. This is my man. You will be jealous of, because we are together. We are a partner. You're going to accept it, or you're going to tot off. It's as simple as that. But the moment they start making you feel the opposite, where you've got to compete for their attention with those other women or other men for his attention or her attention, you've got to get rid of that person. That is not a good partner. That's a red flag. So we don't understand that until later on when the wisdom kicks in. And that wisdom comes from learned experiences, I'm afraid. So that is part of the release of the arch method. Now, control. Taking responsibilities for your actions and behaviours. This includes learning to respect other people's boundaries while also protecting your own. So again, let's just go back to that being like, no, you're not going out tonight with the boys. We've all done it, ladies, and men do this too to their women. Oh, I don't, no, no, well, if you go out, I don't want to talk to you for the next few days. Oh, I don't even, no, right? That is, we've all done that. That's part of growing up. We do that when we're a lot younger anyway. But it is a trait. It becomes a bit of a narcissistic trait. It's a controlling mechanism that we are trying to control somebody else's movements and actions, when really we should just be respecting their free will to go and do what they want. If they screw up, they pay the consequences. If they cheat on you, then you get rid of them. But when you're in the midst of it, it's easier said than done. It's only when you look back and you go, oh, I didn't like being like that. I didn't like having to try and contain my man because of other women. It's because I didn't trust him. That's the thing. When you trust somebody, you do things differently. You act differently. You give them, trust has to be earned anyway, regardless of, you don't tell somebody, I love you so much, so you must trust me. I don't think so. No, you can earn it. I've got to earn your trust. Just because I love you does not mean you need to trust me. I had to earn it. Vice versa. So part of that is putting up that healthy boundary and not infringing on theirs. So if you basically let that person know, look, I do love you, but I'm not going to tolerate this sort of behaviour, infidelity, disloyalty, disrespect, anything like that. You put your healthy boundaries up. If they walk all over those boundaries, you've got to get rid. Just get rid of them. They're not worthy of you. They're not good enough for you. They're not healed. And they will continue. And the problem is, and whether you're doing it, well, when you're healing and you're Healassist, you don't do it anymore. But you will notice that immediately, like, did you just seriously just flirt with that woman? Again, use me as an example. In front of me? If you can flirt with that woman in front of me, what the hell can you do when I'm not around? Tot off. You're a red flag, you gotta go, right? Because you're not gonna be able to treat, you can't build respect with somebody you don't respect, and you cannot build trust with somebody you don't respect. So somebody can disrespect you like that, right? And vice versa, whatever your preference is, or the opposite sex. If this is happening to you and people and your partners are doing this to you, you're going to get rid of those partners. They're not good for you. They're not good. They're not good. If they can do that in front of you, they can do all sorts of weird shit behind your back, and they will, and they probably are. So, and you can't respect somebody that is disrespecting you. And you're not supposed to respect somebody that's disrespecting you. If they're disrespecting you and then they're commanding or demanding, well, not commanding, that's a different energy, demanding respect, it's like, no, tot off. How dare you demand respect when you're disrespecting me in front of people? No, you got to go. You've got to be this self-possessed and powerful. And that's the only way these narcissists and these people who have just got those traits, that's the only way they're going to learn, is like, okay, I just got dumped for being a disrespectful person. Rightly so. You can't be out there being that entitled and expecting it while you're dishing out the complete opposite. That's just dysfunctional. So that's where we can take control of those, those scenarios and the situations we're in. We can change that behaviour. We're not going to be able to change their behaviour. It's not up to us to do that. Now, if they naturally think, okay, yeah, actually, you're right, that was a bit disrespectful, I'm really sorry, give them a minute, because now they're taking responsibility. Actions speak louder than words, though. If they accept and go, and then they stop that behaviour, then they probably just weren't fully aware of it, but now the awareness is the key. Go back to use the arch method, you can teach them that too. But if they continue that behaviour after they've apologised, it's a fake apology. and they don't respect you. So if you want to give them 2 or 3 chances to figure that out, but that's up to you, because what you're doing is, as you're allowing them to continue to keep disrespecting your boundaries and what you're not willing to accept, you're giving them permission of how they're allowed to treat you and what they're allowed to do to you by staying with them. And it doesn't matter how much you love somebody. You don't stay with somebody who's disrespecting your boundaries. That's not love. You're probably just in the midst of lust for somebody that's really hot, whatever, like, depending on the sex. That's the truth. Or, well, I've got feelings for this person. They clearly don't give 2 flying flip-flops about your feelings, because if they did, they won't disrespect you. You've got to be honest with yourself. If you can't be honest with yourself, you're going to let people walk all over you. And whether these are relationships I'm talking about, can be friendships too. I don't tolerate any. I don't tolerate that behaviour at all from people. No, not even friends. So, and let me just give you an example. I remember I was out with a group of friends once, and you know, it's a comedy club. It was great. You know, I was having so much fun. I read energy, and they clearly forgot I read energy. So when people are talking, you can talk to me, and you can talk. If your energy is not matching your words, and I'm feeling that disrespect, or I'm not liking what I'm hearing or feeling or seeing, if I don't like your energy, that is where I'm going to start putting a boundary up. Depending on what I feel like, okay, you might just get rid of you, because my cut-off game is great. So when you become a Healassist, your cut-off game is amazing. It's got to be. That's how you protect your healthy boundaries. And again, like I say, I noticed there was 3 of them amongst the group. The rest of us was having so much fun at the table, but 3 of them were secretly whispering and gossiping about me and talking about me. But they made the energy so uncomfortable. Their energies weren't matching the fake, oh my god, I'm having so much fun. And I kind of picked up, and I'm like, and I looked at them, I could see them whispering. I looked at the others, and they were thinking like, well, why are they whispering? So they were already being disrespectful to us all, right? They didn't have any respect for us. So I just looked over, and they kept staring at me, and then whispering. I went, you do realise I can actually read energy, right? And they just looked at me like, oh my god, what's she on about? I went, you know I can read energy, right? I'll call people out on their behaviour. I don't give a flying flip-flop. And they looked, and they looked like really confused. I went, we're done. So, just so you know, I don't care this kind of crap that you're whispering into each other's ears or what you're saying. Your energy is just basically shown and proved who you actually are. You are absolutely disgraceful, disrespectful people, and you're not worthy of being my friends. So once that happened, that was their warning. And I got rid of them like within weeks. They were gone. All of them. So no, I don't tolerate that in friendships or anything. And I don't care about being alone. I don't care. And trust me, because they're narcissistic. One of them was extremely narcissistic, right? But the others were just like loving the energy of this person, because they all have those traits, very low vibrational behavior. So they were just naturally flowing with that. And then obviously they don't like rejection. Narcissists don't like being rejected, because you're taking away the power supply. And then you immediately become the villain in the story. And before you know it, you're going to be dealing with a slander campaign. You're going to be defamed and everything. They can't tolerate, they can't handle rejection. And that shows. And that narcissist who starts all of that kind of stuff, they will literally show just how far they're willing to go, just because they are so unhealed and they can't tolerate. How dare you reject my friendship? How dare you walk away? Tot off. So you've got to be that empowered, and you've got to be you just got to be that honest about it, because that is you. And not you got to remember as well, when you're getting rid of those people that should not even be anywhere near you, that are so unbelievably disrespectful, you're telling everybody else, this is what happens, right? When you disrespect me, or when you treat me a certain way, or you push through my boundaries, or you try to plot, etc. I won't tolerate it. I'm going to show you my cut-off game. So everybody else will say, oh yeah, don't even think about getting that person's bad side, or doing that, or trying to, because she'll know, he'll know, and they'll just get rid of you, and you'll be without even giving you a second thought, and they'll never think about you again. Right? So And that's, so you're giving off a completely different energy, and that is a very self-empowered and self-possessed energy you absolutely want to get into. And as you're healing, and as you start really healing a lot more, and you understand this more, that is exactly what you start emanating. It's beautiful. So, and then heal. So, arch. The healing through awareness and responsibility. True healing becomes possible by understanding yourself. You gain the ability to transform your life and relationships. Pretty much cover what I was saying. I like to give little examples. I like to use my sort of own experience, just because I know most people that have gone through something similar or are going through something similar. So, healing begins with responsibility. We must first acknowledge the experiences that hurt us. Then we must forgive those who contributed to the pain. Finally, we must forgive ourselves. For the times we reacted from our wounds and unknowingly caused pain onto others. Now, if you feel like you can't forgive somebody, or you're not ready to forgive somebody, do not worry about forgiving other people. Just forgive yourself. Remember, you did nothing wrong by giving people a chance or the benefit of the doubt or anything like that. They're the ones that screwed up, not you. Just remember, I'm not ready to forgive that person, they did too much, they broke me and everything, then you don't need to forgive them. Just forgive yourself. Don't punish yourself. Just say to yourself, you know what, I forgive me. I forgive me for sticking with that person too long or tolerating too much. However, next time, I will not. Lessons learned. Now you know what boundaries to put up. Now you know, because remember, that's your education. That person was an education. So you might not be ready to forgive that education straight away, but you can forgive you for educating yourself for too long. So I hope that helps. That is the ARCH method: awareness, release, control, and heal. Now I don't want to go any more into it because I'll start really reading off the workshop, but it is part of a workshop. So, you know, if you're going through anything like this, and I really hope you do enjoy the Healassist versus the Naccissist. You always want to be in the energy of the Healassist, because you don't realize how contagious your energy is. Like when you heal, you start blossoming, you start emanating a completely different energy, so much beautiful light and everything, and it emanates from you so beautifully. Like you don't even realize you're healing. You don't realize either. People notice about you changing before you do, and then when they say, "Oh my God, you're so different. Oh, you're feeling really good lately. You're feeling really great because you're healing." Oh, I didn't realize how much I'd healed. So that's why it's really important, and the steps you can follow. But I created this from my own experiences. So again, being the offender to being on the receiving end, to the healing, like you can't. But my self-responsibility is accepting I was not an angel, I was not perfect, not even close, but I most certainly not even close to the person I used to be. I'm not even the same woman I was a year ago, let alone 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 20 years ago. Like you. So the problem with people as well, you'll notice, is when you're healing and you're growing and you're ascending and you're changing for the better, people from your past, even your siblings, my siblings and everything, it's really bizarre, but people from my past, like, "Oh my God, do you remember when you used to be like this, Karen?" I'm like, you know, I was a child, right? I know, but do you remember when you were like this when you were 13? Yeah, I was a teenager. Okay, but do you remember when do you not remember anything good about me? Do you not have any good memories to share? Do you only remember the negative? Because that is where they still are. They're still in the past. They're still, their minds and their behaviors are still in the past. The past is irrelevant. It's gone. Can't change the past. Because they're not living in the present, because the heads and the memories are still in the past. It's very strange. They're never going to start moving into the future properly. So they're not going to, how can they start planning a future when they can't even get into the present? You've got to remember, those sort of people only want you. They only remember the dark shadow, the negative version of you, because that was the version they could control. They could trigger, they could annoy, they could pull back down, they could use as their own emotional punching bag. But because you're not that person anymore, they've lost control, and that's a them problem and not yours. So enjoy the rest of the video. It is a little bit, I really go into it, so but slightly different, you know, angles too. It's more I kind of filmed it a few years ago, yeah, like 2022 I believe, yeah, but the principle is the same. I'm still trying to explain how it is, you know. But once you start learning, when you start healing, just love yourself. You've got to stop. You cannot care what anybody else thinks about you. Actually, when you become a healassist, you won't give two flying flip-flops what anybody thinks about you, because it's none of your business. And how they think about what you think about them is none of their business. So, and you don't judge anymore. I mean, what you got to understand is, when people say, oh my God, we're humans, we're not supposed to judge. Humans judge. Humans are a judgmental species. We are a judgmental species. That's part of the programming. We are assumers. We assume, we judge. That's just the way our nature is. We can control individually how much we want to judge, or whether we're even going to judge. But society as a whole is not ever going to change. They are just programmed to judge, make assumptions, and believe anything that they hear, see and read, especially on the internet. It's bizarre. That's part of the programming. So even though it's not fully their fault, they're still going to take some responsibility for the actions that they do against others, and some of the things that they say about others, especially when they're outlandish lies and things like that. But that's society, that's the behaviour of society. That is the programming. That is what they've been socially conditioned to do, and they're not going to heal anytime soon, trust me. All you've got to do is think about you, take responsibility for you, and just heal you. And whoever decides to follow suit will do, and if they don't, that's okay too. So, you beautiful souls, I'll see you very soon. I'm authentic. I'm so proud of being authentic. And that authenticity, I know annoys people. I don't care, but that's not my that's not my business. It is not my business to care about whether my authenticity or my individualism or the fact that I'm different from everybody else annoys you. The fact that I've spent my life trying to be different from every other single human being on this planet is my lifetime's achievement. I'm doing something right, and that's not going to change. And if that bothers you, I just don't care. It's your problem, not mine. I don't want to be like anybody else. I'm not like anybody else. I don't want to be like anybody else. And the fact that I work so hard at maintaining and constantly working every day to be a better version of myself than I was yesterday, it's going to continue. It's not going to change. It's how I grow as a person. And I know that as I'm working hard at being authentic, I know it triggers people. But that's my working, my self-love, self-worth, and self-working on myself constantly every day, because it's a lifetime. It takes a lifetime to keep you got to maintain it. You don't get self-love and self-worth and you've healed your traumas and all that crazy stuff. You don't do that in a few months. It can take a lifetime to achieve. It takes a lifetime to continuously working on it. I've been through my traumas. I've been through things most people couldn't even comprehend. But I'm not one of those people that needs to, I don't stay in victim mode. I work on my traumas. I work on my childhood traumas, of course. Nobody's immune from traumas. And I'll tell you something else while I'm here about being working with traumas and why I do what I do and why I'm like I am. I'm a Healassist. And I'm going to explain what a Healassist is in a moment. The reason I became a Healassist is because it's a lifetime of working on oneself. When you're constantly working on yourself, you are literally, part of working on yourself is knowing you made mistakes in the past, you're not perfect, you screwed up, but you take responsibility for them. Now I'm talking about like my 20s and early 30s where I did what everybody did. I just adopted those narcissistic traits. We've all got some sort of narcissistic trait in us because it's part of the social conditioning. It's part of the predictive programming. It's part of the mind control. It's part of the systemized mind control predictive programming. When you understand that, you understand life. When you understand the system, you understand why everybody will at some point have maybe just one or two narcissistic traits. Some people just go full-blown out off the minds, full-blown narcissist, right? So when you come across narcissists, serious narcissist, your little narcissistic traits are naturally going to come out to try and, like, because you're programmed to hate each other. You're programmed to fight fire with fire. When you understand those narcissistic traits that have been socially conditioned into you, you suddenly take a step back and go, okay, that's not serving me. That's not cool. That's not me. That's not who I am. That doesn't match who my personality is. You start to understand more. You start to research more. You start to learn about who you are. Once you start learning about who you really are, once you get rid of those little narcissistic traits that have been socially conditioned into you, through traumas, etc. too, that happens too, you will naturally start liking yourself. You can't like yourself when you're acting a bit narcissistic. I take full responsibility for my narcissistic traits back in the day. Of course I do. That's why I became a Healassist. The Healassist is the complete opposite. It's my copyrighted version of the duality of the opposite to a narcissist. To recognize, to take self-responsibility for those little narcissistic traits back in the day, and then become a Healassist. The Healassist opposite to that is where you've understood it, you've worked on it, you no longer do implement those, they're no longer part of your life, they're no longer part of the way you treat people or how you live your life. You actually do the opposite. You start healing, and then you start assisting. You heal, assist others to recognize these socially conditioned narcissistic traits, and you teach people how to become a Healassist. So it's a pay it forward funnel effect. It causes it's a cause of action. It's an effect. It causes it, and then people, when they heal, and they, depending on your levels of trauma, you will probably need different types of help and therapy, and you have to get help. Depending on what you've been through, you have to get help. That's part of becoming a Healassist, whether you're doing self-healing, whether you're getting counselling, or whether you're seeing a therapist or a doctor or anything like that. But you've got to understand, when you recognise those little red flags, those little red narcissistic flags, if you choose to be a narcissist, then you're the problem. So, and that's a choice. But you do have a choice and free will to recognise, I used to be like that. I used to act like that. Like when you heal your traumas and your childhood traumas too, and you heal yourself, you look at other people and you watch and you go, oh God, oh my God, I used to act like that. I mean, I wasn't as bad as that, of course, because you didn't have all of the narcissistic traits. But that doesn't mean you didn't have any at all. Maybe just 2, 3, 4. Some people have a few more. But what I'm saying is, you're recognising how much you've grown and what you've learned from it. Because again, it's all to do with it's mind programming. It's mind control. It's programmed into us, and that's been going on for like over 40 years. So that's why you now have generations of full-blown narcissists. Unfortunately, most of the people don't know that's happening to them. So even though don't give them full blame, it's like, I don't want you to, you can't be completely responsible because you don't know what's happening to you. But at some point, you still know right from wrong. You still know you're treating someone badly. You still know what you're doing is wrong. It doesn't matter how you're raised, who's raising you. Just as a human being, the human species alone, one thing we understand even as a child is we know right from wrong. Now, part of our development, we can go for the worst traumas, etc. Even your early development stages can be majorly conditioned with all sorts of evil stuff, really bad stuff, depending on who's raising you, etc., and what's happening around in your environment. But there's still something so deeply embedded inside you that goes, that's wrong. The way these people are treating me is so wrong, it hurts me. But that's your intuition telling you this is wrong. When you grow up to be that same way, you know it's wrong. Because you knew as a child it was wrong what was being done to you. So there's no real getting away from that truthful reality within us. So as you sort of come into adulthood and you go into, and if you're still sort of taking those, I mean, it's hard these days because everybody can't put their phones down and they're so into all this reality TV shit. That's fake, by the way. That's part of the predictive mind control programming. That's what's keeping you narcissistic. This is what's feeding those narcissistic traits into you. When you think it's cool to commit infidelity and to hurt somebody with so much deceit because you're watching a reality TV show that tells you, it makes you think it's trendy and cool, you're a problem. That's called programming, predictive programming, mind control, everything. And you're going to become a narcissist. Because you're just following these idols that are the most despicable human beings on the planet. And that's why I don't do celebrities. I'm not interested in celebrities. They want money. It's all about money, power, etc. But I'm not going to get into that. But that's just my personal opinion. And I don't speak for people. So, but that's why I don't watch any of that crap. I don't like technology. I have this major fight with technology all the time. But because I'm old school, I know what it's like before we had it. I don't particularly want to go back to those days full blown because, you know, what we have today is very convenient, obviously. So it's really annoying. I use it only for the convenience. It does not rule my life. When you're looking at the generations today, it rules their life. They don't know anything different. They don't know there was another way. They were not told there was another way. And even if they did, they'd be like, I ain't doing that. What? And you only have to look at them when they look at an old phone and they go, what is that? And it's like, that's a dial phone. Like, how do you use it? It's like, oh God, seriously. But it's not their fault. It's not part of their reality, unfortunately. So, but again, to understand the socially conditioned, cultural conditioning, and the religious conditioning, narcissistic traits that's drummed into you in every facet of life, in every area, you're going to naturally adopt some of those. It's just recognizing them and then going, oh, no, that's awful. I don't like seeing that in other people, so why am I doing it? Because you're creating a double standard. So when you recognize that, now you need to move to the Healassist side of it. Okay, I'm very aware of that disgusting narcissistic trait. That's not very nice at all. That's not good. That's not good for that's not going to serve you in any shape or form. It's not good for your health and well-being, and it will hurt another human being, which you don't have a right to do. So when you come away from that, you'll start naturally going, oh, how do I teach people about this? How do I help people understand this? Well, that's when you become a Healassist. You start explaining the opposite. You bring it in, you recognise it, you take responsibility for your past actions when you did it. It's not a life sentence to look at your past and go, oh my God, how I feel like a hypocrite. No, you're not. The fact that you've admitted and you're taking responsibility for your past actions, now the only time you become a hypocrite is if you continue that behaviour. But you don't want it from anybody else. That's when you're a hypocrite. When you change it, when you stop it in the tracks and you do things differently, you're no longer a hypocrite. You just learn to forgive yourself and move forward and become a better version of yourself than you were yesterday. That's the point. That's what you need to do, and that's how you become a Healassist. So there's not one person you're ever going to come across, past, present or future, that didn't have some sort of narcissistic traits. At some point, you know, some just go through the grades not understanding it, and they did have it to the end. But there is a lot of people awakening to the realization and the understanding of this now, and so that a lot of people sort of venture towards spirituality and like, okay, I need to change myself. So they'll look for different ways of helping change. They'll recognize traumas from parental traumas that was inflicted on them. They'll realize the traumas that kept them in domestic violent relationships and these codependent relationships and friendships and everything. It's part of the traumas, and it's part of the programming. So when you sort of understand that, you live very differently. And unfortunately, when you become a Healassist, it means you're probably going to lose a lot of so-called friends. When you're not going to lose friends, you don't lose friends when people truly love you and care about you. Even if you become suddenly weird overnight and you go in a completely different direction, you probably lose a lot of people. You probably needed to lose those people anyway. They're not ready to understand or take the journey. It's not your journey. It's not their journey, my peoples. Your journey is yours only. Only you can take your journey. Only you can heal yourself or get some healing. And only you can move forward and do things differently. Only you can change your life. Nobody else can change it for you. But this is society. You know, it's a shame because the world is such a beautiful place. I mean, I've travelled a lot and I've seen some beautiful places. The planet is a beautiful planet. It's a people problem. Life, there's nothing wrong with life. Life is fleeting, life is amazing, and it is amazing as you want it to be. But it's a people problem. Now, depending on how dark you want to go and which lens you'll go to, some people will literally go to the darkest parts of life to the point where they will just literally choose to become evil. Well, you know what? If you want to sort of congregate towards these people and your energy signature is so low vibrational that you will literally connect to these people, just be very careful, because when they go down, they will take you with them. They don't care about you. If you really sort of edging towards incredibly low vibrational people and low vibrational behavior, that is your energy signature. You're not going to attract anything but that. And your life will never really truly be yours, and you'll never be in control of that because it's too low vibrational. The only way you can take control of your life again is to raise your vibrational frequency. I'm all about frequencies, and you're an energy source. Your soul is your energy source. You have a frequency, an energy frequency. You need to raise it. And part of raising your vibrational frequency is part of the healing process. Raise it, you become a Healassist. That's exactly what it is. So, you start to understand there's, again, narcissistic little traits that are conditioned into us, socially, etc. You'll recognize them, and then you start recognizing the partnerships you've been in the past, and you're like, ew, I used to do that too. Oh, not as extreme as them, or not as bad as this, but still did a bit of it. So that's where you take responsibility. And it's like, okay, God, I never ever want to get in a relationship like that again. The moment you become a Healassist, you won't. You'll look for something very different, and you're constantly changing your energy signature to attract a different type of person and a different type of relationship, whether that's friendships or lovers in the future. For me, my journey, my Healassist journey is all about celibacy. I don't need sex. That's programmed. That's why porn is so. That's why most men are addicted to porn, because it's a part of the programming, sexual programming. That's what it's about. When you understand that, and then when you get into these relationships or you get into these sort of sexual fetishes, they don't serve your soul. They just physically serve your body for a hot minute. There's no pleasure. I mean, you might get a bit of pleasure depending on, but you obviously going to get some sort of physical pleasure, but it doesn't feed the soul. It's not feeding your energy, and then what happens is it's all dysfunctional. For me, I don't speak for anybody else. It got to the point where, I mean, due to medical reasons too, that was part of the sort of start of my journey. But the celibacy now is like actual, I chose that. I choose this. Because, and a lot of people that go through major spiritual awakenings and go through that Healassist sort of cycle of healing, they tend to become celibate because they think, well, that didn't even give me anything pleasurable at all. That didn't even do anything for me. That actually was the problem. There was just too much drama with that. Yeah. So you find that you don't actually need that physical interaction because you realise just how incredibly important your life force is, and how important your energy is, and how you should always be very careful about who you're sharing your energy with. Because there are so many energy vampires out there, my people, and they come in very low vibrational form, and they will steal it, destroy your life, do everything they can to hurt you, and then just like leave it at the side of the cab like you meant nothing, and then walk off and find the next person to suck their energy dry. Low vibrational people don't have high vibrational energy. So they're just takers. They're just like, oh, I'll give you this tonight. I'll give. They just understand each other. when you a light force in you, and your life force is so boom up there and bright, and it triggers people's demons, and people don't like you for it. People want to suck on that energy because it gives them a powerful boost for a minute. Can you imagine? Right, this is what I want you to understand about being a Healassist and getting away from that low vibrational behavior. This is how powerful you become. And we're supposed to be, because we're humans and we're amazing, but you don't know this. When you become a Healassist, very spiritually ascended, and you really work on everything, and you work on you, and you vibrate at a high vibrational frequency, everything about you is different. Everybody will notice the moment you walk in a room, your light is so effing bright, right? It makes people go, God, I need my shades. Right? What you'll find is your light will literally trigger low vibrational dark people, because they only understand the darkness. They understand that it's too dim. The light is so dim. They don't understand your energy. So now I have to be more selective about who I exchange my energy with again this year. That's not going to stop me from helping people or helping heal people. Absolutely not. No, that's not how I function. But am I going to be more tight with my energy this year? Am I going to be more selective? Absolutely. That's what I mean. And that is really sad, because the amount of people I normally help, I've had to half that at least because of these people. It's lessons that I had to learn, and I had to take responsibility for allowing them to come in and sticking around as long as I allowed them. It's my fault too. But that's okay. They're gone now. And that's it. And it's just a new year, a new start, a new day, and there we go. Other than that, have a great day. Have a great start to your new year. Be positive. Put that out there. And I will see you all again very, very soon.